And we are back for another college football playoff pick because NFL is kind of like wonky right now. We don't know who to pick. We don't know who's playing. It's really hard to keep track of. So
the only thing we could do on NFL would be to pick the games that mean something as opposed to the trash games. But I'm with you. There's been some real stinkfest. 6-3 New Orleans on Monday night. Friggin' 1,000,000,000-2.
Oh, that was just awful. It was probably one of the worst things I've ever seen. I mean, we've seen some stinkers, but
yeah. I don't really want to hear it because I needed the New Orleans to just do anything to win my fantasy that night. Like anything. like their offense, just anything. Like more than 60 yards total offense or whatever the shit they had, 120. Yeah. Pretty bitter about that, not gonna lie.
It was bad. I was like,
it was horrible. It's CBS Sports, that's what we play in, and it's Green Bay had averaged 14 to 15 points a game on defense score fantasy. I'm up 21. No, sorry, I was up 17, and then long story short, Green Bay scored 21 because New Orleans is freaking ridiculous.
Oh, it was.
I mean, if you didn't know it going in, Spencer Rattler as your quarterback just pretty well told you everything you needed to know. So,
yeah.
And Kamara was out, so it looked pretty bleak from the get-go, to be honest.
Yes, it was. Yes.
But even a professional team, you would expect a little more than 2 points on a Monday night football game. So,
yeah. Now, last week, I did go 3-1 on my college football picks.
You did. I went 2-2. So you beat me by one.
Which one was it? The over? That last over that didn't happen?
Yeah, I had a couple
Penn
of
State,
that.
I think it was the Penn State one, that over. You took the over on that.
Yes, I had. I don't know. I've got too many sheets of paper, but you're right.
Yeah, because what killed me was Indiana decided to show up with 7 minutes left in the fourth quarter, but by that time they were down 20. And they could only bring it back by 10 or something like that.
Yeah, I lost the Tennessee against your Ohio State because I went with the fact that I thought that they would have a crowd getting their ass, but Ohio State just tore it up, which was a high likelihood. So
Ohio State, and that game should have been more than what it was.
Yeah. They look like they needed. I mean, that's what I always said. I think Ohio State,
that bad call,
they always need that game to get their asses kicked, and then they show up.
That bad call in the that was not that they didn't call the pass interference, that the defender went through him, and then it was some weird miracle interception catch that only the ref could see because they couldn't let them go down 28-0 in the first. So therefore it was they let him back in, and then halftime you thought, oh yay, and then the first drive Texas goes 3 and out, I believe, and then Ohio State rams it down their throat yet again, and then again and again.
Yeah, it'll be. It's getting interesting now. Although I wish they would have reseeded it differently because it's kind of I don't know.
Ohio State has no business being ranked under Penn State.
Yeah.
Indiana, actually, they should be 3 or 4. They actually should have been the 3rd or 4th seed.
Yeah.
Even with Boise State winning their division, they shouldn't be the 4th seed. That's a reward for Penn State. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it'll be interesting because obviously those matchups in college is probably Texas is playing either Oregon or Ohio State, so that'll be a semifinal. And my guess is Penn State will be playing either Georgia or Notre Dame.
Any one of these matchups could have been, because of not seeded properly, could have ended up being Ohio State, Oregon could have very well been the national championship game. Right. But instead we're seeing it this week. But, there it goes. So, who do you...
Absolutely.
Penn State, Boise State, the first game of the playoffs this coming on the 31st. I'm going to take Boise State plus 11 just because of they've got that running back Gentry that no one can seem to stop. Penn State's defense isn't stellar. So I say Penn State wins, but they don't cover by 11. So that's what I'm taking.
I think that's a good pick. However, I'm going to lean towards the record of the strength of schedule that Penn State played this year is better than Ohio State's entire conference and division. I don't think there's any doubt Penn State wins. I think you would agree with that as well, of course. But I think they're due for a blowout game. I know they got that running back that'll light it up, but I don't think one player makes the team. I don't know that much about the team, so I can't really say if the quarterback or the receivers are that great, but I will say obviously the focus is on it's Shante or something like that, right? So yeah, anyways.
Right.
I'm gonna take Penn State minus 10.5 and see what their favorite does in that game.
All right, so next game, Texas, Arizona State. I don't really like the line either way, just because I don't know much about ASU this season, except they're kind of scrappy, but I'm going to take the over of 53 just because I think they can all score. Texas, I think, has the more depth, obviously. The starting quarterback and even their backup quarterback, I think, is better than their starting quarterback currently. So, but I don't think that their defense is completely locked down. So I'm going to say Texas, or no, the over 53.5, because I think that the Arizona State will be able to score.
Yeah, I'm going to change mine up just a little bit. I think I'm going to go with another favorite. I'm going to go Texas minus 13.5. I just kind of thinking about it because I think the little opposite. I think Texas defense does shut down ASU. It's going to all be all about, ASU's offense for the most part is about Scatterboo. And Scatterboo's a beast. He's a guy who was the guy who used to play for Tampa Bay, like the fullback. His name was Mike something. He was like a big freaking horse. Now I want to know who it is. Yeah. You know what I'm talking about? Yeah, he was like the white guy that just freaking pummeled everybody, and that's kind of the way I feel like Scatterboo is. However, it doesn't make any sense when you don't know the hill.
I don't like his name.
But Scatterboo's just a freaking animal, and every time he goes against a top defense, he just proves everybody wrong. And he's a guy who's funny because he, like, if you ever watch him, it's almost like he's got Tourette's when he's in the huddle. He's just like he's waiting to get the ball, and somebody asked him the other day, like, what is that all about? And he's like, really? I sweat so much that I have to keep shaking the sweat away from my eyes and my stuff. So anyways, that was an interesting little article I read, because I did notice it. Like, if you watch him, like, he's just constantly like, it's like a bobblehead doll. But I digress. Cool.
Tennessee quarterback last week when he was running against Ohio State, I just kept saying this, and I was like, why is his head bobbling like that? Yeah. And does it bother him while he's running?
I'm telling you, if you did, now that it's in your head, you're going to watch Scatterboo and that game, and you're going to see exactly what we're talking about. It's hard to miss.
All right, so next game, which again could have very well been the national championship rematch of Ohio State, Oregon in the Rose Bowl, so neutral field. That was a great game, probably one of the best games that we had, decided by a point. I think Ohio State's learned a lot, but again, because it's my team, I'm not jinxing this one. So again, I'm going to take the 55.5. Both teams can score. Ohio State does have the best red zone defense in the country. You can get down there, but you're not scoring. I think they have the most goal line stops as well in the country. So, but Ohio State, they're clicking. Oregon's clicking. They haven't lost a game. This should be a great one. I'm looking for a great matchup. I'm surprised this isn't like the night game where I watch pizza and do nothing else.
I think that's the best game of the day. To be honest with you, the matchup is absolutely the best matchup of the day. One could say Notre Dame, Georgia could be a good matchup, but Ohio State, Oregon's just, you've already seen that experience this year. It was a great game, like you said. For me, I'm going to lean with you on that as well. I'm going to go with the over 55. I think both teams are just going to have an offensive heyday against each other. I do think
whoever makes the big play or ends up with the ball last is most likely who's going to win.
Exactly. That game's going to probably be like 31-28 or 38-31 or something crazy like that. And the guy I was thinking about earlier is Mike Allstott. It finally came to me. Mike Allstott for Tampa Bay. Everybody remembers that, but he's just a big white horse that just friggin' railed people in the NFL. So I would tie that.
How we remember stuff in the middle of talking. Oh yeah, by the way.
I was about to get on my phone and look it up, and then it just went ding ding Allstott. I was like, oh yeah, Mike Allstott. That was just hit me in the head. All right, Notre Dame versus Georgia. What's your which way are you going with that one?
That one I'm going to lean Georgia -1.5. I think we were discussing that earlier. Kirby Smart, he has a winning record against everyone except for Alabama. So if it were anybody but Alabama, I'm going to take Georgia. So yeah, it's kind
I'm with you on that.
With Ryan Day with Michigan. He's got a winning record against everyone else except for Michigan. He's 1-4, and I think Kirby Smart's something similar, like 2-7 or something like that. He has only beat Alabama once or twice, but they both have like the best records as far as active coaches in college. So I'm going to go with Georgia, that he's going to get them ready. Notre Dame, to me, is an elite team, but they're not in the class of Oregon, Ohio State, and Georgia. And
I think at that 100%. When I look, until they prove it, I just don't see it like that. Like you said, I just think when you look at the tiers of, even Texas probably is a little better than Notre Dame.
I was going to
tiered them up, but
for that, for me, would have been Oregon, Ohio State, Georgia, and Texas. Watching it all this season, those are the top 4 to me.
Yeah.
And then everyone else is probably 2 notches below. Where
I'm 100% with you on that. I think those top 3 are even a slightly different gap than Texas, and then you put Texas in that little sliver of a gap, and then you start rolling down, and Notre Dame's probably that next sliver, and Penn State's probably right there. Maybe they may be just a skosh ahead of Notre Dame, in my opinion of looking at it all in totality. But we shall see this playoff. It's just one game. Never know what's going to happen. That's kind of the cool thing.
Who are you taking in that game?
That game, I am also going with you on that. Georgia -2 or 1.5, depending on which one you're looking at. But in my world, like you said, I don't. Like I was telling you earlier, as much as you don't like to hear that, Kansas City Chiefs, you just don't bet them to lose. At Georgia, same way. You just don't bet them to lose. If you do, then you're psychotic. So I think you roll with Georgia.
Or you're a loyal fan of whoever you're rooting for.
Exactly. Exactly.
Fan base of
that. Well, and they brought that back up in against Texas, and he was able to run the ball and throw the ball a little bit against Texas when Beck got hurt. And I think that's the interesting part, right? Is it's a roll of the dice with Beck being hurt, but I think their backup, it looked just as good. I think he's a sophomore, and he can run a little bit better than Beck can too. So I think that'll add a new.
When he went in, so
yeah.
So
except for when he got clobbered in that Texas game and just about knocked his head off, but that was one of the biggest hits, as we were talking about earlier offline. Was just, I don't know how the guy got up. I certainly would not have been able to get up after getting annihilated like that tackle.
Yeah, I'm looking forward to it. The NFL games, I don't know if I'm looking forward to any of them this week. I can't wait till the playoffs start. It's next week, right? Yeah. So, and we still have 2 more weeks of college football after that.
Yeah, I'm excited. It's like this week I was sitting there like I was at a cigar bar last night. I was like, oh damn, I forgot there was even an NFL game on tonight because I had been watching college other bowl games during yesterday, and I was like, oh yeah, right, it's Thursday night. There's a Wednesday night NFL, a Thursday night NFL,
and they sucked.
Yeah, that's true. That is true. That's I didn't even watch. I mostly watched the college games anyway. So, but
I was
nonetheless,
really disappointed with the Christmas Day matchups. I was like, why are they even having these all teams all played on Saturday? So whoever ends up having the most talent and better players are probably going to win. Not necessarily the best coach, or because you don't have the same amount of time. You know what I mean? Or the less injuries, I should say too.
Well, I mean, the Houston-Baltimore was a good matchup on Christmas Day.
No, it was not.
It was. Texans just played like trash. So, I mean, he had a 9-6
what?
team against a 10-5 team. That's a pretty good matchup.
I'm gonna have to agree that Christmas Day, unless it's a Sunday, belongs to the NBA. Leave it alone. Let me watch my basketball that day uninterrupted, because I switched over to basketball and they were phenomenal games. Because I got Golden State.
I watched the Lakers-Warriors game. That's the only one I watched that day. But
that was a phenomenal game. I was like, this is Steph Curry, LeBron went off, and both of them. It was
a great game, unless you had Golden State -3. Then it wasn't such a great game. I don't know who had that, but yeah, I did have Golden State -3. So that was
never vote against LeBron.
I know, but Golden State was at home.
Yeah, but LeBron on Christmas Day, I think he's got I think his record is 11-2 or something.
And that game should have went to overtime, but they let Knucklehead drive the layup with freaking 5 seconds to go. So
it shouldn't even gone getting tied. That guy let Steph Curry get open. He just said, "Oh, let me just let the best shooter, the best 3-point shooter of all time, get open."
That's why I thought they had the momentum, and then 6 seconds timeout, inbound pass, dribble around the guy, layup. I was like, only in NBA does that happen. I just
stood there as Steph went. I was like, what are you doing, dude?
I mean, if I was in that guy that was Reeves that was driving, I would have just at least hammered him and made him go to the free throw line instead of getting a free, easy basket. But what do I know? I'm not an NBA guy, so.
Yeah, well, I love the NBA. I'm not really much of a college football person. I'm not college basketball. I am a college football person. College basketball, I guess because they're one and dones, the talent goes really quickly. Yeah. So I don't know, maybe with NIL money, it changes college basketball a little bit, because you're going to get people who staying to develop a little longer, because then they could get paid even more in the NBA. Who knows?
Yeah, I tend to be, I'm like, as the typical thing goes, I'm more of the college guy than the NBA, because they at least make an effort to win, whereas NBA
they play defense.
Yeah, exactly. NBA is 132 to 128, and you don't, like we were saying the other day,
until the playoffs that they start.
Right, exactly. But then
well, you're talking about how many games, though. That's the thing. Maybe they shorten, because the year that they had to shorten, the point totals weren't as much. That when they had that, were like a strike or something like that, and they shortened the thing by 20 games. But to me, the quality was better, because there was more of an urgency to win. So there was more urgency to play your best basketball, both on offense and defense.
Yeah, I mean, that's a long, grueling season for a player, for sure, because that's a lot of minutes on the court. It's not like baseball where you're playing a lot of games, but it's a lot of standing around, as opposed to basketball is
Yeah, basketball, you're playing both ways. You're not like football. You're playing either offense or defense. You're not on the field.
Right.
And basketball is harder on your knees, because you've got
ankles.
Yeah, they blow out their knees and ankles more than anybody, just because of the jump.
I just find there's so much crying in the NBA. Everything's a foul. Everything's a travel. The players are always even LeBron, I got hit in the head the other night. I got hit in the head.
They made the rules to clean it up. They didn't want, the malice in the palace again. Oh.
Every time an NBA player misses something, they're complaining to their ref about something. I'm just just go play basketball. Shut up.
Unfortunately, they changed the rules to make it that way. So, they did it, and this is what you're dealing with, because I think these players, all of them, could play in any era, but given these rules, so they're going to use it to their advantage.
Yeah, well, the refs still don't call it, so I don't know what advantage they're trying to get, other than just whining.
Sometimes the refs just call stuff, and sometimes they don't. Like Shaq, he never got the superstar call. LeBron, it can go either way depending on the ref. Sometimes he gets star calls, and sometimes he gets the Shaq. Well, you're bigger and stronger than everyone else, so they can just piggyback you. It's not legal.
It's not a foul unless there's two guys on top of you, Shaq, because one guy doesn't count.
It's got to be 3. You shattered the rim. It's got to be 3.
It's good stuff. Yeah, well, we'll see what happens. I usually watch NBA when it's dead. Like
After
NFL's
All-Star
over. There's
After
no
the
baseball
All-Star
yet.
break,
Yeah, that's usually when I start watching because I got nothing else to watch unless hockey. So
that's right. You'll start watching right when they have the tournament, March, and then when that winds down, NBA playoff basketball starts wrapping up. So you're like, oh, they're playing defense. So let me.
Yeah, you're right, because I'll really start focusing on college basketball probably like after the NFL's over, college's football's over, because now you're starting to move into the latter second half of the college basketball year. Things are starting to find a path for each of the team. They're either good or bad. And then you're rolling right into March Madness. So, and then I throw in some NBA during some of that as well. But yeah, you're definitely right. I tend to focus on NBA after March Madness come April. So
yeah, same. But I watch NBA pretty much the whole time. But for me, NBA, it's players. So if LeBron's playing, I'll watch it. If Steph Curry's playing, I'll watch it. Even though I'm not a big Steph Curry fan, or Anthony Edwards, I like him. I love Kyrie Irving. Then some of the other ones, like I can't get really like Wemby's good, but I'm just not a big Wemby. Like I don't see it. Just like I don't see it with like Jokic is good, but like I do like Luka though. I do like the combo of Luka and Kyrie. So yeah,
Luka just went out for a month with a calf strain or something.
That might be the first Texas team I really comes to death.
There's a pug that's blurred out in the window. I couldn't even see the face, and I could tell it was a pug even through the blur.
They have a specific look.
Exactly.
Not my dog, by the way, guys.
All right. Well, I think that is where we'll roll. Just to review, you got Ohio State over, Boise State, Texas ASU over, Georgia minus 1.5, 2, and I've got Penn State, Texas over 55, Ohio State, Georgia minus 1.5, 2. So 2 games the same, 2 games different. We'll see what happens this week.
All right. We'll talk to you guys next week.